Carlo Gambino was born on August 24, 1902 in Palermo, Sicily. He grew up in a society that understood two things: honor and power. His family was connected to the Sicilian Mafia, so Carlo learned early that loyalty and silence could keep a man alive longer than bullets. Most boys dreamed of farming or working the docks. Carlo wanted something else. He listened when older men whispered in corners. He watched the way money moved, not through banks, but through favors. He was quiet, observant, and patient, qualities that would later make him a king. At just 19 years old, Carlo boarded a ship to America. He did not speak English. He carried no wealth. But he carried something much more valuable: the trust of Sicilian Mafia elders. They believed he would continue their legacy in the New World. New York was loud, hot, and full of opportunity. Immigrants worked hard, but criminals worked smarter. Carlo immediately found relatives connected to the Mafia. He didn't need to ask for work. His reputation had arrived before him. Carlo Gambino began his American career as a soldier under influential Sicilian factions. He wore no flashy clothes, and he didn't fight for attention. He simply followed orders and delivered results. People noticed. During Prohibition, the streets of America ran with illegal beer and liquor. Carlo moved crates silently, building networks. He didn't shoot, didn't brag. He just made sure every bottle reached its destination. Money flowed, and bosses began to respect him. Carlo married Catherine Castellano, tying himself to another powerful mafia family. The marriage was love, but it was also strategy. The Castellanos would later become his weapon. While other gangsters chased fame, Carlo studied. He watched how the bosses spoke. He listened when they negotiated. He paid attention to who lived and who died. In the Mafia, knowledge is ammunition. In the early 1930s, New York was torn apart by a brutal Mafia war. Carlo fought quietly on the side of the Sicilian faction. He survived because he avoided being emotional. When others rushed into gunfights, Carlo stayed in the shadows. When Lucky Luciano killed the old guard and created the commission, Carlo Gambino was not loud, but he was there. Lucky's new system rewarded brains over bloodshed. Carlo fit the vision perfectly. Most mobsters used violence to climb. Carlo used intelligence. He solved problems without spilling blood. He paid police. He bribed judges. He never screamed or threatened. His calm voice was more dangerous than a gun. Carlo worked under bosses like Vincent Mangano. He built alliances, not enemies. He handled docks, shipping, and labor rackets. He controlled millions without appearing in newspapers. Though Carlo avoided violence, he was not afraid of it. When someone became a threat, they simply disappeared. No witnesses, no mess, no drama. Gambino's enemies died quietly. In 1951, boss Vincent Mangano vanished. His brother was found strangled. No one could prove who did it. But everyone believed Carlo Gambino pulled the strings. He took control of the family without firing a shot. Technically, Anastasia became boss. Carlo stepped back as underboss, but insiders understood the truth. Anastasia was the face. Carlo was the brain. He waited. He watched. He prepared. Anastasia was feared, unpredictable, violent. He ordered murders without strategy. Carlo hated chaos. He believed bosses should control, not terrify. Anastasia became a liability. In 1957, Anastasia sat in a barber chair. Gunmen walked in and executed him. Carlo did not participate physically, but every finger pointed to him. He kept his hands clean while others carried the bullets. After Anastasia's death, Carlo Gambino officially became head of what would later be called the Gambino family. He did not celebrate. He simply began managing business like a quiet CEO. Carlo's leadership was unlike any other. He didn't scream at associates. He didn't order public killings. He built profits. He stabilized the family. He treated the mafia like an industry. The Mafia Commission, America's criminal parliament, looked to Carlo for guidance. He didn't bully them. He persuaded them. He made deals that benefited everyone. Soon, he became the most respected Don in the country. Carlo Gambino's greatest weapon was time. Where other bosses rushed, he waited. He would allow another mobster to feel powerful, then quietly remove them when they made a mistake. He understood the difference between quick victory and permanent control. The mafia was not a sprint. Carlo treated it like a lifetime chess game. Gambino knew love built families, but marriage built empires. He arranged marriages between clans, Bonanno, Profaci, Colombo. He ensured every union tied loyalty tighter. With each wedding, he didn't just gain relatives. He gained soldiers. The docks of New York were not just places for ships. They were gates to the world. Carlo placed trusted men in unions. They controlled cargo, labor, shipping contracts, and imports. Every box that touched the dock, legal or illegal, paid tribute to him. Carlo discovered the secret every rich man knows. Build the city, and the city pays you forever. He directed mafia money into cement, trucking, and building firms. He didn't rob projects. He owned the companies that won them. From New York to Florida, Carlo Gambino backed racetracks, dice houses, and private clubs. He wasn't interested in petty hustlers. He built networks of bookies, accountants, and loan sharks. Every gambler, from the poor taxi driver to the Wall Street millionaire, fed his empire. Carlo didn't threaten unions. He became their friend. He offered protection, loans, and solutions. Soon, dock workers, truck drivers, and wholesalers voted the way he wanted. If they refused, their jobs vanished. Carlo Gambino never bought fancy cars. He never wore loud suits. He preferred cheap shoes and plain jackets. Reporters didn't chase him. There was nothing flashy to see. He was invisible by design. Because he looked simple, people underestimated him. This was his greatest camouflage. While other bosses flexed muscle, Carlo flexed patience. He made them think they were winning, then took everything quietly. Police knew he was powerful, but they had no evidence. Carlo didn't talk on phones. He didn't sign papers. He used face-to-face meetings in quiet restaurants. To investigators, he was a ghost. Instead of dominating other families through war, Carlo made himself indispensable. If they needed money, he lent it. If they needed peace, he negotiated it. Slowly, the other bosses realized they couldn't move without his approval. Joseph Colombo created the Italian-American Civil Rights League. He went public, spoke to cameras, and claimed the mafia didn't exist. Carlo hated publicity. So when Colombo was shot in 1971, Carlo said nothing. But many believed he arranged the attack. Gambino did not shout or threaten. He asked questions. Is this man good for business? If the answer was no, the man disappeared, quietly, professionally. Gambino's enemies died like diseases cured by a surgeon. Carlo owned companies, real ones, food importers, trucking firms, construction outfits, garbage disposal operations. His wealth didn't look criminal. It looked like business success. That's why the government always came too late. Through Sicilian partners, Gambino connected to heroin networks. He didn't traffic drugs directly. He let others dirty their hands. He took percentages. He bankrolled operations. If someone was arrested, Gambino was untouched. Other bosses walked into nightclubs with bodyguards. Carlo walked alone. He strolled like an old grandfather buying bread. People glanced at him and looked away. Only insiders recognized the iron beneath the wrinkles. Carlo Gambino's strength came from blood. He placed his relatives in every business. He trusted sons, cousins, and in-laws more than any soldier. He believed betrayal was less likely when the traitor shares your last name. Carlo groomed his cousin's son, Paul Castellano. Paul was not a street fighter. He was a businessman, educated, polished, and comfortable with politicians. Gambino prepared him to inherit the empire. When wiretaps spread across the city, Carlo changed everything. Secret meetings, rotating meeting spots, no phones, no paperwork. His lawyers laughed. There was nothing to prosecute. Carlo didn't need to control every street. He trusted smart lieutenants to manage territories. If they failed, he didn't scream. He replaced them, permanently. Carlo saw what Meyer Lansky and the Jews created in Vegas. Casinos were money factories. He backed operations quietly. He didn't own signs or hotels. He owned the men who ran them. When families prepared for war, Gambino intervened. He invited both sides to dinner. He listened. He offered compromise. And both sides left believing they had won. Carlo Gambino didn't just create wealth. He made people believe they needed him. This was more powerful than guns. It made him untouchable. Even as he aged, younger mobsters plotted. They wanted his power. They called him old-fashioned. But Carlo knew every traitor before they moved. They died quietly. Carlo realized something vital. The Mafia wasn't an Italian operation. It was an American business. Those who clung to old Sicilian ways fell behind. He modernized crime. Gambino avoided elected office, but he controlled people who held it. Judges, police captains, union officials. He didn't bribe them with bags of cash. He gave them favors they could never repay. By the late 1960s and early 70s, Carlo was frail. He walked slowly. But the entire Mafia still bent to his voice. Old age did not weaken his influence. It amplified it. As death approached, Carlo did something no Don had done before. He chose his successor carefully. Not the strongest killer, not the loudest captain. He chose Paul Castellano, the businessman. Many soldiers were furious. They believed the streets should choose the boss. But they forgot something. Carlo Gambino was still alive. No one dared challenge him. When Carlo died, his funeral brought more powerful men than any political leader. Mob bosses whispered, criminals cried, and police stared in awe. The quiet man from Sicily had become a myth. Carlo Gambino died naturally in 1976 at age 74. No assassination, no prison sentence, no downfall. He beat the system through intelligence alone. There was never a coronation, no ceremony, no throne. Yet every gangster in America acknowledged him as king. After his death, the organization became officially known as the Gambino family. The name stuck because no other boss could overshadow him. He was the standard. Carlo Gambino left 3 laws for success. Never draw attention. Never act in anger. Never trust a man who wants power. These rules kept him alive longer than any other Mafia titan. He never shouted orders. He whispered. Men leaned in to hear him. That was power. Carlo Gambino rarely allowed photos. He didn't want to be remembered physically. Only his legend mattered. Carlo turned crime into business. He replaced gangsters with managers. He replaced gunmen with accountants. Violence became the last option, not the first. Even when surrounded by killers, Carlo didn't need bullets. His presence alone was enough. The quiet man could end careers with a single look. When other dons argued, they asked a single question. What does Carlo think? His opinion carried more force than armies. History remembers Lucky Luciano for revolution. It remembers Gotti for flash. But Carlo Gambino's legacy is strategy. The Mafia is strongest when it is unseen. Carlo Gambino proved something terrifying. You don't need guns to rule the underworld. You need patience, silence, and discipline. And the world will kneel at your feet.